Hey, what's up and how's it going, everyone? Well, I'm so glad that you have took your New Year's Eve time to spend with me right here today on the Mick Rock and Bolt Wrestling Review Show. I'm your co-host, Mike Mick Rock Wilson, and last night was the last Raw of 2013. So, let's get right down to it. Here is my review and the results of last night's WWE Monday Night Raw. Alright, so the first thing that happened last night on Monday Night Raw is CM Punk coming out and basically saying that he wants to find out who the toughest member of the Shield is. And when the Shield came out, they cut their little promos. And I gotta say, when Dean Ambrose is on the microphone, he is so great. And he's really losing his sanity as well. And I think that, when the Shield does split up, I hope that all three guys have, a good run as competitors, and I think Dean Ambrose is one of those guys where the WWE should look at when it comes to, let's have him have a title run with a different title and have him just be as weird as possible, put him in a great feud and all that, etc., etc. And so, with all that being said, more of Dean Ambrose on the microphone. He was great. And, of course, throughout that entire first segment, there was some more tension with the Shield, which is all well and good, because you want to slowly build up the breakup of the Shield. You don't want to rush into it, and that's something that the WWE has been doing since they've been teasing dissension with the Shield, is that they're slowly building it up to something big. I think at the Royal Rumble, we're going to see it really explode when Roman Reigns probably eliminates both Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, or we'll have Dean Ambrose eliminating Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns eliminating Dean Ambrose, or any other combination in the Royal Rumble match would be great amongst the Shield. And after that, Seth Rollins stepped up and said, "I'm the toughest guy of the Shield, and I will face you, CM Punk." And I thought this match between CM Punk and Seth Rollins, I'm going to mark out right now, I've been waiting for that match for a very long time, and it happened on the Raw before 2014, the last Raw of 2013. So I like that we had that match now. And I thought it was a great match. Those two put on a terrific performance in the ring. And really, Seth Rollins really reminds me of a Rockstar version of CM Punk. And I like how those two actually kind of look similar to each other, and it's really, really interesting to see how Seth Rollins will be built up as a singles competitor as well when they do split up the Shield. I mean, eventually, somewhere down the line, no matter when or where, it's going to happen. The Shield will split up eventually. It's just how the WWE should do it, and the execution of it should be, not, dropped at all. It should be good. And like I said, so far, the WWE has been doing just that. The winner of that match was CM Punk. Now moving on. Now, see, here's the thing about last night's Monday Night Raw. It started off good, but then it started to go really, really downhill. It picked up a little bit again, and it kind of just stayed there for a bit, kind of went down and then went back up again. That's how I would have described last night's Monday Night Raw. It was overall not an outstanding Raw, not a terrible Raw, a little bit below average. So it's really weird how WWE incorporated every single segment on the show. It didn't feel like it was, a memorable Raw. And with that being said, the next match on the card was Curtis Axel versus Dolph Ziggler, and this was a match that it just feels like a throwaway, a throw-in, and Dolph Ziggler winning over Curtis Axel really doesn't do anything for Dolph Ziggler. What's missing out of Dolph Ziggler is that he needs to be the show-off again, and then that's what should happen with his character. When it comes to Curtis Axel, he just can't bounce back from being Paul Heyman in Paul Heyman's corner. There's just absolutely something wrong with the landscape of some of the superstars that are on Raw's 2014 have hopes. I do not know, but we'll see what happens in the upcoming year on Monday Night Raw. We also saw a WWE Intercontinental Championship match. It was Fandango going one-on-one with Biggie Langston, and I was hoping they would take this match and make something out of it, and they didn't. What happened was that, Fandango and Biggie Langston went in there and put an okay match. It wasn't a great match, I thought, but some of the sequences throughout the match were actually pretty good. How Fandango countered the big splash from Big E, and it was a very long match. It was one commercial break in between, so I give it that. But overall, it was just not a Intercontinental Championship match I will remember. So with that being said, a lot of it had to do with the crowd as well. It wasn't the greatest crowd. It just seems like they were really into the show at all. Case in point, I will get into another match as well. In regards to the fan reaction on last night's Raw, and the winner of that match was Biggie Langston. And going back to that, I was hoping that the WWE would have Fandango either cheat to win or get himself disqualified, or have Biggie Langston counted out to develop a story between these guys, and they didn't. It just feels like Biggie Langston is going through all these people defending the title and not bringing the better prestige to the championship, even though he does defend the title. They're not. The WWE is not developing stories with their mid-card talent, and that's what they should be doing to make the Intercontinental Championship more interesting. And more interesting than Biggie Langston and Fandango, and that's what the WWE should be doing, and they're not doing it. I don't understand why they're not doing it. It's not really that hard. It just seems like, this is something the WWE is just known to do. They're not giving their mid-card talent what they need going forth in their career, and it's not really helping them. And I really don't understand why the WWE is not developing stories in their mid-card roster. I don't know. If you have any answers, comment below and let me know. Moving on Monday Night Raw, we saw Damian Standout going one-on-one with the Great Khali, and before the match happened, Damian Sandow said if he did not win this match, he will quit WWE. So, really interesting stipulation. Really didn't matter because Damian Sandow won. But what was interesting was that even though this match really didn't feel important, there was a moment where the Great Khali's shoulders were up and the referee counted 3, and the commentators even mentioned that the referee did not do his job right. And it's not a match that was a main event. It would be important if something happened if this was a main event match, but it wasn't not even close to a main event. It was just a fill-in match. So I found it interesting that even the commentators mentioned about the Great Khali shoulders even being up. So I thought, it was a little interesting, but like I said, the show just went downhill. There was a lot of boring segments and matches, and like I said, the crowd wasn't really into it. And case in point, R-Truth versus Brodus Clay, that match was just boring. And like I said, the fans just not react at all. What happened was that, Brodus Clay hit his big suplex. Clay puts Truth on his shoulders, and Clay flattens Truth. Things go back and forth, and then R-Truth nailed this finishing maneuver and got the win. And the other thing I don't like is that you have Brodus Clay turn heel, and they don't follow up on Brodus Clay being over with the baby faces. And I think the WWE needs to establish the heel turn of Brodus Clay, because right now it just feels like Brodus Clay is just jealous that the Funkadactyls are now with R-Truth and Consequences Creed, aka Xavier Woods, and it's just not really cutting out when it comes to not necessarily elevating, but turning your superstars into heels. It really doesn't break the mold, but it just really sucks when the WWE doesn't follow up on someone's heel turn. They have Brodus Clay turn heel, but week after week after week after week, the baby faces are the ones that get the last word, and they're not giving Brodus Clay his heel moment. And that's just WWE logic, I think, in my opinion. Moving on, we have Eva Marie, the Bella Twins, Cameron and Naomi versus Caitlyn, Rosa Mendes, Oksana, and Alicia Fox and Summer Rae. I'm not really going to go into detail. The winners of this match were Oksana, Caitlyn, Summer Rae, Rosa Mendes, and Alicia Fox. And I'm actually surprised that Oksana actually got the pinfall victory in that match, and I'll just move on from there. After that, we saw now. I'm going back and forth, with the route. I will get to the main event later on. Stephanie McMahon had a major announcement that at the Royal Rumble, we will see John Cena versus Randy Orton for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I'm actually okay with it. I can understand why a lot of the smart fans, and probably some casual fans as well, saying that, oh, here we go again for the millionth time. Randy Orton, John Cena, championship match. Good God, WWE, what's going on, right? I can totally understand if anyone would think that. Perfectly understand it. But in my opinion, I actually don't mind it, because the way Stephanie built the match actually felt like this was going to be their last time. And I actually didn't believe that it was going to be their last time at TLC, because they never really mentioned about, anyone that won't be wrestling them anytime soon. It didn't feel like that at TLC, but now when Stephanie announced it, she said there will be no disqualifications, no countouts, no excuses. This match will be won by pinfall or submission. And that's what's needed now, I think, in my opinion, for Randy Orton to go one-on-one with John Cena again, even though a lot of people may not agree with it, and I don't mind it. It's just that, this is the right way to go, I think, in my opinion, because if this was dragged out till WrestleMania, I would have something to say about that. So I think the WWE probably has bigger plans in regards to both John Cena and Randy Orton. They will probably face different opponents at WrestleMania, so having this match at the Royal Rumble is understandable, I think, in my opinion. And Triple H also made an announcement that Brock Lesnar has returned. And this is where the show kind of got good, and after that was the Divas match. And what happened was that Paul Heyman mentioned that Brock Lesnar is automatically the number one contender for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, no matter who wins at the Royal Rumble. That's interesting. Because I could see a scenario where if Batista returns, wins the Royal Rumble, and he has to go through Brock Lesnar to get there to face the champion, that would be an interesting angle. And to have that match maybe at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, that would be interesting. One could argue that they could have had that match till WrestleMania. That would be an interesting match to see. Batista versus Brock Lesnar. And but we'll see what the WWE has planned for both guys going into WrestleMania. But for now, going through that segment, we saw Paul Heyman, like I said, mention that Brock Lesnar is automatically the number one contender, and if anyone else thinks otherwise, come on out and try to make a name for yourself. What happened? Mark Henry came out, and I expected this from a mile away. Brock Lesnar is just gonna unleash the pain on Mark Henry. That was a very predictable segment, but it was still actually pretty good how the way they set that up. What happened was that Brock Lesnar took Mark Henry out from the crowd and just destroyed the barricade right beside the Spanish announce table. I thought that image was actually pretty good, and then the F5 on the floor, that was pretty good as well. And I like where this is going with Brock Lesnar, so we'll see what happens. And the main event was Daniel Bryan. He had to go through Luke Harper, and if he won that, he had to go through Eric Rowan, and if he won that, he would have to go through Bray Wyatt. I thought that first match was really, really great. Luke Harper, when he body slams his opponent or delivers any maneuvers, he makes sure that he is slamming you to the mat and taking your head off with his big boot. Luke Harper is a very rugged style of wrestling, and it just works for him. It suits his character. I mentioned this before in lots of reviews, and I thought Luke Harper was one of the greatest highlights on Monday Night Raw, and Daniel Bryan also delivered in that match as well. Those two went at it. Great match. What happened was that Daniel Bryan won. He had to go through Eric Rowan. It was a shorter match, but it was still really good. And Daniel Bryan bet Eric Rowan. And when Bray Wyatt got in the ring, of course it was ambushed from behind by Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, and I thought that was interesting to see where this is going to go. And then, this is where it gets interesting. Bray Wyatt gets on the microphone and said, "We're done with you, Daniel Bryan." Daniel Bryan says, "You're right. I'm going to join the Wyatt family." And, Bray Wyatt gives them the Sister Abigail, as in, this was Daniel Bryan's initiation into the Wyatt family kind of thing. That's what that felt like. And then when all four of them went up the ramp and on stage, Daniel Bryan kind of turns around and kind of teased that he was going to turn already. And that was really weird, because why would he tease that now? That was a little early. I could see a scenario where he turns on the Wyatt family at the Royal Rumble. Here's the interesting thing I like. When the WWE does something weird, when a lot of people are talking about it, a lot of people are jumping to conclusions already and saying that this is the wrong way to go with Daniel Bryan. He's the most over guy in the WWE, and all of a sudden they pull a Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 17 and have Daniel Bryan just all of a sudden turn heel. So I think there's going to be more to this. There should be more to this. Because why would WWE turn Daniel Bryan heel when they know he's way over with the fans? I think, in my opinion, that Daniel Bryan is going to be working undercover and is going to beat the Machine inside the Machine and have him turn on the Wyatt family at the Royal Rumble. If not, if nothing happens and you're just going to play this out, that would be the wrong way to go, I think, in my opinion, and that would just piss a lot of people off. What did you think of the ending on last night's Raw? Comment below and let me know. And that was my review of last night's show. To all you MRBers watching, get plenty of rest and always do your best.